Recently, we had very bad news. Supreme Court ruled in McCutcheon that they could take away some of the very few limits left in political contributions, would allow massive donors to legally bribe our politicians in a mass scale, to do it without almost any restrictions left, as if things weren't bad enough. Now, that's when a lot of people would get discouraged, and a lot of groups that are fighting back against this might get glum. That is exactly when Wolf PAC rallies the troops and says, apparently it's time to attack a little harder. Now, we've already had some success in passing these resolutions. We've had resolutions to have a constitutional amendment go above the head of the Supreme Court and say, no. We're going to get back free and fair elections in this country, and you're not going to allow the corporations and the big donors to buy our politicians. We've been fighting on that front, and we've already had the resolution introduced in 10 different states. And in fact, it's already passed the California Assembly, that's their house. And I told you recently about this dramatic situation where it passed the Vermont Senate after we were told that that was impossible. Well, that's always fun when we're told that. And we were also told that it would be a tough fight in Illinois. Well, that's where our state leader, Richard Diesel Lake, came into play. He decided, well, that's one way of looking at it. The other way to look at it is, well, this will be fun when we win. So he literally rallied the troops, the Wolf PAC great volunteers, who I'll name for you in a little bit, and decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to go senator by senator, and then later we'll do the House, and I'm going to call them all, and I'm going to try to get some of them on our side. Now, he recently described this in a call to other Wolf PAC leaders. I have the call for you guys. It's an amazing story, so I want to share it with you here. So let's go to the beginning here, where he explains how it all started.
Like a lot of you new guys, I was just in your shoes, you know. I got involved in the middle of summer, or the beginning of the summer, and I basically, Mike, provided me with the spreadsheet of different legislators, and I just started, going to work and just calling people up. And, when I got to the D's, I was able to talk with Delgado the first time, and we just had a conversation, just talking about different stuff. And really, we didn't get to the meat of the call until like almost at the end. And that I told him about Wolf PAC and everything we're doing. And he said, "Oh yeah, that sounds really good. Why don't you send me some information?" And so that's where he left it. So right away, he emailed a copy of our flyer, a copy of the sample resolution, and within like 10 minutes, he sent me an email saying he would be honored to introduce this, and that's how it started.
What Diesel did was he called his state senator, William Delgado, who, as you'll see here, becomes the biggest hero of the story. And he talked to him, and then he explained to him, hey, wouldn't it be great to have free and fair elections? And then his state senator said, I would be honored to introduce that resolution. You know who else can do that? You. I've seen it happen in all these different states. You think like, oh, Tim, I can't convince a state senator to actually introduce a resolution that would help the American people. It turns out you can. You can. We've done it in state after state. So now that's the beginning. He introduces it, and then what happens? They start to get more sponsors. And the more sponsors that he has, then Diesel winds up getting more and more volunteers in Illinois. And it's a virtuous circle. And as he explains later, hey, listen, when you get this thing rolling, it becomes easier and easier because it actually is true that over 90% of the American people, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Libertarians, think that money is corrupting our politics and our politicians, and we need to get it out. You just got to get started. So they go to the vote, but here's the problem. In the Senate in Illinois, for a legislation like this, you actually need 60% of the votes, not just a simple majority, right? So in this case, they would need 36 senators. In fact, the vote was delayed a little bit because they weren't sure that they had the 36 senators. In fact, when they went to the vote, they weren't sure they had the 36 senators. And then this happened next.
One Republican did ask for a roll call, and I was kind of getting nervous there. And what they have is like they have like on the wall, they have like this digital, just like a scoreboard, and it has all the names of the senators, and it has like, a light. If it's a green light, that's where he votes for yes, and if it's red, and it has like a tally on top of it. And so once they call the vote, I'm looking at it, and all of a sudden I just see like all of a sudden like right away I got like 20 votes. I can see all these all this activity, and there's all these people running around, slamming buttons, going nuts, bumping into each other, and all of a sudden it's like running to 25 votes, and it gets like 30 votes. It gets like 32, 33, like 34, and it stops. I'm like, oh, fuck. I can't believe it. 35, 36, and 37. And then the guy just closed the bowl, and I was like, oh. And I looked down. It's just like a scene in the movie. I see Delgado like fist pumping in the air. He's walking up, hugging other senators. They're all congratulated. They all like mobbed him. Like all of them just came around him, like hugging him. And he's like pointing at me in the stands. It was unbelievable. Just like a sports movie or something.
And the guy explaining that story is the guy who started it all, Richard Diesel Lake. He's no different than you, man. He heard about wolf-pac.com, went to the website, volunteered. Our organizing director, Mike, reached out to him. They talked, and he said, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And by the end, it's like the miracle on ice. And there he is, hugging it out with a state senator after they got it passed in the Senate. The final vote was 37 to 15. They needed 36 for the three-fifths vote you need in the Senate, and so it passed. Now it goes to the Illinois House, where we hope, of course, that it'll pass there as well. Now, I want to show you guys the press conference they had afterwards, because this is great. Richard's there. Richard starts the press conference, and then you hear from two of the senators. Isn't it amazing that, we started this thing and we started talking about free and fair elections, and now here are state senators talking about it and passing bills about it. Watch this.
96% of Americans in a recent poll support reducing the influence of corruption in our political elections. Most Americans want campaigns to be free of the corrupting influence of excessive spending by outside interests, and yet fair enough so that any citizen can run for public office. We need a government that is of, for, and by the people, not bought and sold by billionaire businessmen and outside interests.
The purpose of this resolution and similar resolutions around other states is to convene a constitutional amendment throughout a convention. We need to amend this Constitution so we can reverse the Supreme Court ruling on Citizens United. That ruling gave corporations personhood and led to the creation of super PACs, not only in Illinois, but throughout the nation. With SJR 42, Illinois can lead the movement to save democracy in America.
Often in politics it's said that in order to get something done, you have to know how the game is played. When it costs so much to run for some offices that only the independently wealthy need apply, it's time to change the game. I believe our most famous native son would agree we must not rest until our government is of the people, by the people, and for the people once again. Our democracy is not for sale.
Damn, man. It started with you guys, and now senators are talking about it. Feels good. As one of our volunteers in a different state said, when we got it passed in like I said, in a different area, she said, it feels so good to take the power back. It's amazing what you could do if you just try. So now let me read the list of American heroes here. And at the very top is State Senator William Delgado, because he fought like a lion for this. He did everything he could to make sure that it got co-sponsors, it got the right committee, it got the right vote at the right time. So he was as good as any state senator we have seen in the whole country. And then State Senate President John Cullerton was absolutely critical in this, and he co-sponsored it. State Senate President Pro Tem Don Harmon also co-sponsored. Assistant Senate Majority Leader Kimberly Lightfoot, another co-sponsor. Look at all these leaders. State Senator Del Ryder, a Republican on the executive committee that voted in favor of SJR 42. This thing is actually bipartisan, the only thing in the country that we all agree on. State Senator Christine Rodagno, another Republican who voted for it, so that it could go to the Senate floor and on the Senate floor. Adriana Waldrop, legislative assistant for Senator Delgado, also an incredible help. And then, of course, the guy I've been talking about, Wolf PAC state leader, Richard Diesel Lake. And I like that he gives nicknames to others as well, because you got the state organizers there, Matt Cotton, Sean Kimbrough, Susan Singer, Vince La Machina Wallace, Wolf PAC state organizer and 2IT Chicago bannerman, Derek Doc Daniels, Wolf PAC volunteer Murray the Merciless Bowie, Joy Bunton, TYT brand and community ambassador Jenny Wang. Yay, Jenny! And the whole Wolf PAC Illinois team. You guys were phenomenal. And I'll tell you one last story. At one point, one of our leaders is in a congressional office, in a Senate office, talking to a staffer about this resolution and how it's going to get introduced, et cetera. And she gets a call, and it's another Wolf PAC volunteer calling. She's like, oh, don't worry, they're already in the office. That's what she tells the person on the phone. She hangs up and tells our leader, you guys have a mountain army. I don't know what that means, but it sounds awesome. A mountain army indeed. So the Illinois Senate is up on the board. Let's go get them in the House, and let's go get them all across the country. You guys are performing what others consider to be minor miracles here. God bless your hearts.